And welcome back to BNC Live. I'm Tashanea Whitlow. Security measures in the nation's capital are ramping up ahead of a rally that's set to take place this Saturday. It's a far-right rally. So how can law enforcement officials prepare for large crowds expected this weekend? And better yet, how can they prevent the same violence we saw on January 6th from not happening this weekend? Well, here to help us break it all down, we're joined back by Dr. Ron Leighton. Thank you so much, Dr. Layton, for joining us. I guess my question for you is, Capitol Police are already installing high security tech cameras for a more broader view of the Capitol. They're also putting up fencing again around the building to protect it. But is that enough?
So I'm going to go back to what Chief Menger indicated at the onset of the piece that we started with. He mentioned intelligence, and one of the things about intelligence is that it's going to provide an assessment of the volatility of the environment. And so the question is, and one of the things that the executives would certainly be interested in is, ultimately, do I have enough to defend what is coming? And that's what the assessment helps you do. And so now you've got what I refer to as non-permissive environmental security controls, which is a fancy way of saying that when people are non-compliant, and we saw the activity going on the January 6th event, they just basically overran the police. And so we're going to, or the Capitol Police are going to erect barriers to ensure that that doesn't happen. So that fencing that you see being put up in the next couple of days, it's pretty technologically sophisticated, meaning you can't run up to it and you can't scale it. You can't use grappling hooks, increased situational awareness with cameras, aerial platforms, the provision of quick reaction forces, counter sniper units, civil disturbance units, counter surveillance units. There will be an outlay of protective resources like we did not see on January the 6th. So your fundamental question is it enough? I'm encouraged by what I'm hearing and seeing, and I think that they will be adequately protected given what they will certainly outlay as resources and what it appears that the threat looks like. So I think the answer is yes.
Dr. Layton, I want you to look at this video. I mean, the January 6th insurrection, this is what this group of people are capable of, okay? Beating police officers, beating them with an American flag. There's no protect blue lives amongst this crowd of people. I mean, do you really, what about people who live and work in that area? We know that lawmakers aren't in session, but what about folks who live in the area? Should they be concerned about this? I know I would.
Yeah, so when given the recent history, should they be concerned? Of course. But one of the things that I want you to look at in the video is that you started the video with a number of subjects who were non-compliant and just flat out fighting the cops over bike rack. And so that's what I mean when I say a lack of non-permissive environmental controls. And so what you saw, for example, during the inauguration, it's all about security. The security is going to be based on perimeters, and that you got to go through checkpoints to get from point A to point B. So fundamentally, without going through a long drawn-out explanation, is that you will not have subjects that will get that close to the venue that is being protected. That is one of the keys as to how to do this. The problem is that it is resource intensive. It's expensive. When that fence goes up in the next couple of days, it's probably the better part of $1 million to do that. But we're in an era where you've got to spend the money, and the risk executives, meaning the chief and the sergeant at arms, all newly installed, they have probably been given the green light to allocate the expenditures necessary to ensure the safety of not just their officers, but the safety of those who are lawfully engaging in freedom of speech activities, to say nothing about the safety of those individuals who want to come and perhaps engage in some type of illegal or unlawful activity. Those people still need to be handled in a manner that is consistent with the use of force traditions of United States law enforcement. And if there is the opportunity and the need to make an arrest, I think you're going to see adequate resources to be able to do that. So we saw in the first event all of the arrests, or the majority of them, that took place afterward. You will see, if it is necessary, you will see the arrests take place prior to the event.
Dr. Layton, I totally respect what you're saying about the use of force being respected. Obviously, I'm just going to go back to the fact of last summer, we weren't given that courtesy. But with that being said, I mean, we still have this pipe bomber, whoever it was, who planted a pipe bomb at the Republican and the Democratic Party outside, that they still have no idea who this person is. Final thoughts, sir.
Not only do we have that, we've got a number of events that we talked about in the first segment with the individual who had the weapons, that he was locked up in his truck. It looked like there were indications of some association with white supremacy. We've got that pipe bomber, and law enforcement officials would be wise to expect to see those kinds of things ramped up as we get closer to Saturday. So when you see those kinds of things as a risk executive, the idea is to deploy additional resources to be able to counter those things. And that's why I'm encouraged. You've got new leadership in the form of Sergeant at Arms Walker, Chief Menger, who are used to these kinds of things in terms of their previous jobs. Again, I am encouraged by what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing in terms of being able to counter these kinds of events. But again, based on intelligence.
Yeah, Dr. Layton, since you brought up that gentleman who was arrested outside of the Capitol threatening, it's worth noting that he walked away alive. I don't know if you remember 2014, Miriam Carey made a wrong U-turn. Black woman shot 26 times. She did not make it out alive.
No, I remember that incident well. I was serving with the U.S. Secret Service during the day of that event. I remember it very well.
Yeah, and I'm sure her family does too.
Yes, and I'm glad that you bring that point up. It is notable in terms of the actions and the corrective behavior and the scrutiny that law enforcement should certainly come under in the wake of any event. The American people expect better.
Absolutely. Dr. Layton, thank you so much for your insights, sir. It was a pleasure having you on BNC. We look forward to welcoming you back.